Have you ever seriously wondered how to protect yourself online? I mean, really protect yourself. The answer isn't what you might think. See, to build a truly solid defense, you first have to understand the offense. So, today we're going to do just that. We're going to learn how to think like a hacker.
And our guide for this entire journey comes from a fantastic book called AI Hacker's Playbook by Precious Anusium. It's a deep dive right into the mind and the methods of cybercriminals, and it shows us exactly how they operate.
And that really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? To actually beat a hacker, do you have to learn to think like one? I think by the time we're done here, you'll see the answer is a big, resounding yes.
So, where do we even begin? Well, we start with a strategy. You know, good cybersecurity isn't about just buying some antivirus software and calling it a day. It's about building a personal defense plan. And that whole process starts with something called threat modeling.
Think of threat modeling like this. It's a way to systematically answer two really simple but incredibly powerful questions. What am I trying to protect, and who am I trying to protect it from? This is what makes your security plan unique to your life, not just some generic checklist you found online.
So building your own threat model really just boils down to answering these 5 key questions. First, what are your assets? We talk in photos, financial data, private messages. Second, who's the adversary? Is it a random scammer sending out a million emails or someone more targeted? Then you think about the likelihood and, what happens if things go wrong? And finally, the most practical question of all, how much effort are you really willing to put in? The answers to these questions are literally the blueprint for your own personal digital fortress.
Okay, so now that we have the framework, let's look at the threats themselves. Once you understand the common plays in a hacker's playbook, they stop being this big, scary, abstract thing, and they become something you can actually defend against. Let's break a few down.
First up, the classic, phishing. And you have to understand, this is less about hacking your computer and much more about hacking you. It's a game of pure deception where attackers pretend to be someone you trust, your bank, a company, a coworker, to trick you into handing over your information. Now here's the wild part. Phishing isn't some dark art reserved for elite hackers. Not at all. Tools like the Social Engineer Toolkit, which you can launch with the command set toolkit, are widely available. This means almost anyone, with just a few simple commands, can clone a website and whip up a pretty convincing phishing attack in just a few minutes. The barrier to entry here is shockingly low.
And the process is just brutally effective because it's so simple. You get an email that creates a sense of urgency, you click a link that looks totally legit, you enter your username and password on a fake login page, and boom, just like that, the attacker has your credentials.
All right, let's move on to our next attack, the man-in-the-middle, or MITM attack. The best way to picture this is to imagine you're on a private phone call, but someone has secretly patched into the line. They're listening to every single word, and they might even be changing what you say. That's exactly what a MITM attack is for your digital life, and it happens all the time on public Wi-Fi.
So how do they pull this off? Well, a really common technique, especially on a local network like at a coffee shop, is called ARP spoofing. Attackers use tools like Ettercap to basically trick all the devices on the network into sending their internet traffic through the attacker's computer first. And this command right here, it just brilliantly shows how specific these attacks can get. Let's break it down real quick. Ettercap is the tool. The -M, ARP remote part, tells it to do the ARP spoofing attack. That first IP address, 192.168.1.1, is usually the router, the gateway to the internet. And that second one, 192.168.1.100, that's the specific target. With one line of code, the attacker has just told their computer, hey, put yourself right between this person and the internet and listen to everything.
And finally, let's talk about one of the most destructive attacks out there, ransomware. This one isn't about quietly stealing your data. It's about taking it hostage right in front of you. This malware encrypts all your important files, documents, photos, you name it, and then demands you pay a ransom, usually in cryptocurrency, to get them back.
And how does this nightmare even get onto your system in the first place? Well, it's often through the very same methods we've already talked about. It could be a phishing email with a malicious attachment, or by exploiting a security hole in some software you haven't gotten around to updating yet. Okay, so we've seen the attacker's playbook. A little scary, I know. But now for the good part, building our own defense playbook. Because for every single one of these attacks, there are real, practical things you can do to stay safe. And it all starts with the basics, passwords. This slide says it all. A weak password like password 123 can be cracked by a computer in like seconds. But a strong passphrase like this one?
it would take that same computer literally centuries to break. That huge difference in time, that is your first and maybe your most important line of defense.
But let's be real. Who can remember dozens of unique, complex passwords? Nobody. And you shouldn't even try. That's what a password manager is for. Tools like 1Password, LastPass, or the free and open source KeePass do all the heavy lifting. They create and store those super strong passwords for every single account you have. Honestly, in this day and age, this is non-negotiable.
Next up, you've got to add another layer. It's called two-factor authentication, or 2FA. All this means is that even if a hacker somehow steals your password, they still can't get into your account. Why? Because they're missing a second piece of information, usually a temporary code from your phone.
So what does this look like in the real world? Well, your best bet is to use an authenticator app like Google Authenticator or Authy. They just generate fresh codes on your phone every 30 seconds. Now, if you want the absolute gold standard in security, you can level up to a physical key, like a YubiKey. The main takeaway is, turn one of these on for every single important account you have, today.
And here are a few more quick-fire essentials. Always, always keep your software updated. Those updates patch the security holes we talked about. Back up your important data, because if you have a backup, ransomware has no power over you. Be deeply suspicious of unexpected emails. Use browser plugins like HTTPS Everywhere to make sure your connections are encrypted. And finally, use a VPN on public Wi-Fi to shut down those man-in-the-middle attacks.
So as you can see, good digital defense isn't really about one tool or one trick. It's bigger than that. It's a way of thinking. It's about developing a proactive security mindset that over time becomes your absolute best defense.
And this quote from the source material just brings it all home, doesn't it? Your security plan has to be yours. It has to be built on your own threat model, protecting what matters most to you from the threats that are most relevant to you.
Because when it comes down to it, your digital fortress is never really finished. It's something you have to build and maintain day in and day out. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What's the one brick you're going to lay today? Are you going to set up that password manager? Are you going to turn on 2FA for your email? Just pick one thing and do it.
And hey, if you found this explainer helpful and it gave you a clear first step to take, please do us a huge favor and click like and subscribe. It really is a massive help and allows us to keep creating more content just like this. Thanks so much for watching.